This next tutorial will go over the basics of how to create a great image dispersion effect. This effect is great because it looks like the image is being torn apart, but in a way that looks realistic and graphically amazing. Let's learn how to do this together. I've opened up an image of a man here. First, I'll start by creating a duplicate layer of the man in the background. Then I'll lasso over the man in the background layer. Right-click, and then do Fill. Make sure it's set to Content Aware, and it will let you fill in the background over the original man in the picture. We'll then select the entire model by using the Quick Selection tool. From here, depending on your Photoshop client, you can use Refine Edge or Select and Mask and give more of a refined edge to the hair on the model, so we can pick up individual hairs and outlines. Before clicking OK on the Refine Edge, let's output the selection to a layer mask. Now you can see the model is on a separate background. Let's duplicate the layer now. Then apply the mask we made from the previous layer. I'll rename this layer to the dispersion effect. Then I'll make a duplicate of this layer and rename it to man. Now I'll select the dispersion layer, then select filter, then liquefy. Next, I'll warp the model using the forward warp tool so we can make sure we can have a nice canvas for our effect later. This will determine the size of the dispersion effect. Take your time with the liquefy, then when you think you're done, hit OK. Now we'll make another mask, which we'll do by hitting Alt before clicking the new mask button, the little circle and a rectangle, so we fill the mask with black. This way, our dispersion effect is hidden until we need it. Before we continue, make the original background layer with our picture of our man hidden, so we can edit effects in. Now on our layer called Man, we'll make a new mask with no black filled in, so just click the new mask button without holding any keys down. Once we've done that, make sure you're on the Man layer's mask. Make sure your brush is set to black for the foreground color. Select the brush tool, then select a brush that will give a great dispersion effect. There are brushes out there for free that you can download that will give you the effect desired, so look for them. We'll edit the image to give a bit of a destroyed look. Then we'll switch to the dispersion layer and its mask as well. Switch the color to white, and start masking in, uncovering, the warped layer we did earlier. This will give you the effect of a dispersion going onto the image and looks really great. Experiment with this feature. It will allow you to create some really interesting images. Smart filters are one of the most powerful features of Photoshop. We'll start this tutorial by showing you how we can make a smart object, add a filter to the image without it being permanent, and show you the power of smart filters that way. We'll start by opening this image of flowers here, and you can see that we have a great setup of a butterfly and some flowers. What we want to do is convert this image into a smart object, and all we have to do is right-click on the image and then click Convert to Smart Object. Doing that will set us up for any filters we want to add to this image, and it can be quite addicting to add filters and mess with the image. So let's try to isolate the butterfly here from the rest of the image. What we want to do is go ahead and go to Filter, then to go to texture, and then stained glass. We'll fix the stained glass texture so that it looks smaller and looks good. We can see our butterfly in the back there. Next, we'll draw a nice quick selection around the butterfly. This is what we want to remain, and the rest stay in the stained glass filter. Last, we'll press Ctrl-I, which will put all the selection in black and allow us to see the butterfly. From there, we can tighten the mask around the butterfly so it looks like it's floating above the stained glass. And that's just the basics with what you can do with smart filters. Easy, simple to use, and you don't have to worry about them permanently editing the image this way. Welcome to our next introductory tutorial for Photoshop. Today's topic is about the healing brush and the spot healing brush. We'll be using it to show you how you can touch up blemishes on a photo. This is great for touching up photos of friends, family, and other things you need to make look good. We'll start by taking a photo of someone having blemishes on their face and opening it in Photoshop. Doing this will allow us to have something to work with to show off the healing brush. If we select the healing brush here on the left, with the nice bandage icon on it, you can see that we have options up at the top. Sampled is what you normally want to use for your restoration of your faces and such in your blemished images. Using this, we'll hold the Alt key and click on a spot we want to use as a basis for healing the image. Once we've done that, we'll heal a spot here, and you can see that the brush has figured out what to use nearby to make the healing effect of the brush take place. If we continue, we can remove all the blemishes, and it's a pretty amazing tool. Another way we can do this is, of course, with our spot healing brush, which will do something akin to the selection tool and automatically come up with what you want to heal. At the top are our options. We can do proximity match, which will use what's around the spot you want to heal to fix, create texture, which will create a mix of textures from around the image and is generally not good for face touch-ups. Content aware will try to guess based on what's on the layer itself and what seems appropriate here. Proximity match is actually one of the best options, and you'll see that it tries to fit the fixes in where it can. So be careful with your healing and have fun making faces and other things look great. Welcome to the next in our tutorials about GIMP. In this advanced tutorial, we'll show you how to do some tone mapping on the images that you might need to get some extra color or some extra different shadows and cool things that you would like to get on your photos. Starting out, what we'll do is take a picture right here. I've got a picture of a good night scene. We'll go ahead and start, is we'll create a duplicate layer of the night scene. And what we need to do is create a special enhancement filter called Advanced Tone Mapping. Now, this doesn't normally come with GIMP, so I recommend that you go find a plugin for Advanced Tone Mapping. It's very easy to find on the internet. GIMP itself has a repository of plugins that you're able to find Advanced Tone Mapping. And once you get that and install it into your GIMP plugin folder, you're going to go into GIMP and use Enhance Advanced Tone Mapping under the filters. Then that will show you a pop-up dialog window that you'll want to switch the copies of the merge layer. You want to make it about 5. Press OK. It'll create a bunch of different colors and make the whole thing look really good. From there, you want to right-click on the layer and click Merge Down, and just merge down until you get one picture, one layer. Next, you'll want to go up to the colors and do levels. And on the levels, you want to switch that to maybe about 94, 93, or 92 on the gamma. Press OK there so we can get that into our picture. The next thing you want to do is create another duplicate layer. And then on that layer, you want to click Colors, Desaturate, And from there, you want to actually have it at lightness. You can do luminosity, you can do average. You can see that it changes the different shades of gray. Well, let's choose lightness, click OK. And then you want to go back over to colors, click invert, and you'll see all the different colors inverted here. Then you want to go to filters, blur, Gaussian blur. And you want to set that blur to about, I think I want to do 20 here, seems fine. So now to blur the whole image, what we're going to do with this blurred image is we're going to switch the mode on the top layer here to overlay. And now you'll see it has overlaid onto our image down below. And you want to tweak this by using the opacity bar over here on the right. So we're going to set that to about 48, and then we will merge the layers down. And now you can see we have our new image that shows the different tone maps of color that are in our night sky image. And that's how you get some tone maps in your GIMP program. Welcome to the next in our tutorial series about GIMP. In this next tutorial, we'll go over a quick way how to do a coloring of a sketch that you might scan in or you have received on the internet. And it's really easy to start coloring in GIMP. To start, we'll go ahead and have our sketch open, as you can see right here. And we will go ahead and add a new layer above that sketch. So we'll go ahead and make that a transparent layer. And we will also make sure that that layer is set to multiply instead of normal. Because if it is set to normal, you'll just draw the color over the sketch beneath that layer. But with multiply, it actually adds the color over the layer, but in a way so that the previous layer on the bottom shows through. So if you see right here, we've set our color to something that's a little bit more skin toned. Make sure to do that as well. Hit OK. And then we will start coloring in over top our sketch. And you can see just by coloring in here with the color that we picked, a nice skin tone color, we can start to get the sketch to look more like something that is 3D or an actual colored in sketch. Now this is a part of the longer process here, is to color in all the parts you need. So I'm going to do just a really quick once over, so that way it doesn't take too long and you can see the effects, but also we're not too worried about it being too messy. So as you can see there, I've colored in her face on this sketch. What we can also do is switch a little bit to the burn tool. We'll switch to the dodge and burn tool, then we'll switch to burn down here at the bottom on the options, so that way we can put in some shadows in the image where we think where the shadows are. And we can make sure to change your size of your brush. You can use that using the bracket keys on your keyboard. Left bracket, right bracket changes the size of your brush. And we'll brush in some shadows here on the image, right where the shadows seem to be. If you have a sketch that has the shadows on it, it makes it easier for you to burn in some shadows. And every time you click and burn in the shadows, it will stack on top of each other. So it will make the shadows darker and darker as you continue burning. Now you can see that there are lines here that we can easily tell between the color and the shadows. So from there, we can do a little bit of smudging. And smudging allows us to mix the colors together so that way they are not just lines on the picture. So we'll actually turn down the rate here of the smudging so that way it's not too obvious, and we'll start doing a little bit of smudging on the image here. You can make the lines turn into actual colors instead of very apparent as lines. And that is a very quick and easy way to get started with coloring in GIMP. Welcome to our advanced GIMP tutorial, where we'll actually show you a way how to do digital black and white conversion. It's quite an easy effect to do. And we'll start by opening up an image that you might have seen before on a previous tutorial. We'll open that up and we'll show you. how we'll be able to do the conversion here. Now, you can do a saturate effect in GIMP as well, but what I like to do is create a new layer. So we'll go over here and we'll go ahead and make a new layer. We'll make that transparent, that's fine. And from there, we'll also create a layer mask. So go ahead and add a layer mask to this layer. Make sure that it's set to white so it's full opacity. And you want to change this layer's mode to saturation. And by changing this layer's mode to saturation, you'll be able to change the opacity on the saturation on the layer. To get the saturation on the layer, you'll go over to the bucket tool and you will put in black on the actual layer itself. And this will create desaturation of the layer. And you'll be able to see the entire layer is in black and white. Now, you can set the opacity on this so the effect is not that dramatic. So you can have some color, you can have less color, all the way up to 100%. So you can change this as you will. Instead of just using the saturation effect, which will be one time only, you can use this to great effect to choose the granular control over the black and white conversion effect. Now, what you can also do is with this and having the mask, you can go to the original layer itself, use the scissors tool, and you can pick out parts of the image you want to have in color itself. So if you see here, I have picked out some of the glasses to be in color, and the scissors tool is one of the best tools for this as it tries to find the edges of the glasses on our background layer here. And of course, you could drag each point to make sure it tries to find all of the different parts of the glasses, and then we'll go ahead and click inside to select it. And if we do that and then go back to our layer mask for our saturation layer, we can go in there and we can select the brush tool, make sure it's set to black because we're going to be painting on the layer mask so we can make the color shine through. And you can just start painting in those glasses there and make those glasses show up in actual color compared to the rest of the image. And that's just a very quick way of how to do digital black and white conversion in GIMP. Welcome to the next tutorial in our Photoshop series. We're going to go over a way to create a quick lomography effect. And a lomography effect is a type of effect that you might see on Instagram photos or other types of photos that make it look kind of a hipster-like or retro look. Now, it's very easy to create this look. It's actually extremely fast to create this look in Photoshop. All you have to do is open up a photo. You can see, for example, I have a photo right here. You want to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and Curves. And we're going to make a new Curves layer here. Now, I'm going to make the Curves layer called the lomography effect, which we'll go ahead and type that in. And you can see we've got a nice little layer that goes over our background. It also has its own layer, so that way we won't have to worry about making the effect on the image and not having it affect the image permanently. So the way we start this effect is we go through and check out the curves. So we've got the histogram here, and we want to start out by actually putting a point here and dragging it down a little bit, which you see will actually drag down some of the shadows in the image. And then you want to put a little point up here and drag that one up, which will actually drag in some more light into the image. Then we'll go into the red, and we'll actually put a little point there, drag that down a little bit so we can get some more in there. But we actually want to drag the shadows up a little bit so we can get some more darkness, depth to the image. We also want to drag up the end here as well, and go to the green, and do the same thing, drag up a little bit there, drag down a little bit at the top. And then when we get to the blue, we'll actually do this a little bit different. We actually want to drag up on the previous one, and we actually want to drag down at the top here, which will actually add a lot of different blues to the image there. So if we go back to the original RGB, we can actually pull up the shadows a bit because we want to create that kind of soft tone in the shadows as well. And by doing that, that allows us to create a great lomography effect. It's actually kind of overdone here. It's a little bit too much on the image. So if we go to the opacity, and when you turn the opacity down to maybe about like 50, 55, you can see that it has put itself over the image, and you can see a nice effect on your image that gives it kind of a hipster or retro look. And you can turn on and off the layer to see the difference in the image as we put the Lomo effect on. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. In our next tutorial for Photoshop, let's create a great lens flare effect for our photos. Of course, you could use the lens flare effect in Photoshop, but it usually comes out pretty cheaply made and poorly well done. We'll go make our own effect and have it look great and professional. So we'll take our image of a sunset in the back here and add a new layer to the scene. Then we'll take a brush and make sure the hardness is set to 0, the size to about 300, and then we'll change the color of our brush to white. Next we'll paint a spot, and then zoom in to the brush effect on our image. We'll add some noise to our effect using Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Use about 3.5% of noise. Make sure it's uniform and monochromatic. And hit OK. The noise is going to prevent the effect from banding if we scale the effect. Now let's duplicate the layer. Through the right-click Duplicate Layer option, or you can use Ctrl-J. We'll name the new layer White, and the old layer Orange. Next, we'll add color to the orange layer. Hide the white layer. Then go to Image, Adjustments, then Hue and Saturation. We'll color it by turning on the Colorize option. Move the hue over to a nice orange, and the saturation near 100%. You can make it a little lighter or darker if you'd like. Now we'll set the orange layer to a blend mode of screen. Then we'll set the white layer to a blend of linear dodge add. With the orange layer, we're going to free transform. Draw out our orange layer a bit, making sure that the link is selected to keep the ratio. Commit the changes. We'll select both layers, and we can drag it wherever we want. So let's move them over the sun in the image, and then free transform the effect so it's large and covering the sun. Make sure your two images are centered together. Now we have our lens flare effect. If you want to make sure that you don't want to wash out the color in the image, go to the orange layer, set it to screen, and then the white layer to linear dodge add. Change the opacity of the orange layer down to 50% or so. With the white layer, we're doing the trick here, which is the fill opacity rather than the actual opacity. Set that to about 15% or 20%. You can play with the opacity and fill layer here, and also do some transforming and stretching the lens flare effect to hit more parts of the photo. This is a very quick and easy way to generate a lens flare that you have full control over the way it looks on your image. Welcome to the next in our tutorials about GIMP. In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to change the background color in GIMP. This will be part 2 of our tutorials showing you how to change the background color. Another way you can change the background color in GIMP that is quite easy is go to your image, right-click, add an alpha channel if it doesn't have one already, and then from there you want to use the fuzzy select tool to select the part of the image you would like to delete to give ourselves a transparency. So you can see here it has selected all of the color besides the text itself, and if we were to continue from here, it would actually get rid of the background except for the other colors that we need to get rid of inside of the letters. To add the circles inside the text, you want to hold down the Shift button, which will add a plus symbol next to your fuzzy selector, and you can now add those bits inside the text into your selection. And doing so will allow you to delete all the parts of the image you want to get your alpha channel. So once you're finished there, just hit delete on your keyboard, and you'll see the background is now fully removed. And just like before, you can add a new layer with a transparency, put that below your current layer, and add a new color to your image by using the Bucket Fill tool. And that's another way about changing background color in GIMP. Welcome to the next tutorial in GIMP. This is a very quick tutorial, part 1, about changing background color in GIMP. It's actually a very quick way to do this in GIMP, especially if you have an image that already has a background color you'd like to remove. So the fastest way to change the color in your background is go up to Colors, Color to Alpha, and then you will see that there will be a color picker that you can pick down here, a little drop-down box from blank color to alpha, and then you can click on this little eyedropper here, click on the image, then go back to your color picker, press OK, and you'll see on the preview that it has removed the color from your background. Click OK there. The color will have been removed from your background. You may now add a new layer to your image. Make sure to have it as a transparent layer. Drag that layer beneath your current layer, which you removed your color by putting it into alpha. And then you can use the Bucket Fill tool to switch to any other color you'd like to add to your image. And that is the very basics about changing a background color in GIMP.